Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this in lovely, beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, on Sunday, June 7th in the year 2026. And lots going on this week that's of a very good nature, okay? Good things, good stuff. So let's start. Now, the thing I talked about quite a bit last week, and I'm going to talk about again with you, is the fact that Venus and Jupiter are about to conjunct. And we are at this wonderful juncture in our year where the two of them are meeting up for the first time since last year. And what I remarked upon and what I talked about on Instagram this week as well, and I'm going to say again, is that Venus and Jupiter usually only meet once a year in conjunction. Sometimes there's other aspects, but conjunction, they're only together once a year. And what happened last year is they met in the sign of Cancer because Jupiter had just gone into Cancer, and they are meeting again in the sign of Cancer, which is highly unusual. Usually by this time, Venus has moved on and they meet up in the following sign, or they would have met in a different sign last year, and then, this year, a different sign. So every year it's a different sign that they meet because Jupiter takes a year or 13 months or so to go through one sign. So unless Venus retrogrades around Jupiter and is back and forth over Jupiter, they usually only meet once. So the fact that they're meeting twice in the sign of Cancer is quite beautiful. And also the fact that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and it only comes around to Cancer once every 12 to 13 years. We are blessed with Venus and Jupiter in the same range together, conjunct, and it is exact on this Tuesday the 9th. And it is at 3:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And they are going to conjunct toward the end of Cancer, at the very end here, where Jupiter's in its last moments of Cancer, and it's 25 degrees of Cancer. And so the Jupiter only has 5 more degrees left before it enters the sign of Leo at the end of June. But in the meantime, the two of them are together. They're talking very sweetly to one another, and they are giving us a whole wealth of things and possibilities that we should be looking at and asking about and working with. Now, Venus and Jupiter are the lesser benefic and the greater benefic, and they are, for the most part, the best two planets to be together in the heavens. And you can see them together in the night sky. And they are, well, it's very cloudy here because it's been raining a lot. Thank God it's raining, though. Thank God it's raining. But if you want to see them, they are going to be together. And you should see them close together in the sky, 2 very bright stars. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to go outside and look for them and see them in the sky and make a wish and make some magical wish happen. And I really believe that they are such incredible beautiful indications of something positive. Now, I will say with caution, they can be overindulgent. And you really do want to be careful about how overindulgent you get during the time of Venus and Jupiter. They can actually be a little bit complicated in that we spend too much money, we overextend ourselves, we eat too many sweet, yummy, indulgent things. We have more sugar than we should. We have a second helping of dessert. Maybe too many carbs because it's in the sign of Cancer. And that is the comfort food sign. Cancer is the sign of comfort. Cancer is the sign of family, security, what makes us feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, and you still can have your things around Venus, Jupiter, you're not a person that feels safe for some reason, or in the moment there's not safety to you, you might overindulge in that chocolate pudding, okay? So I'm asking you to pay attention to what you're doing. And this is an emotional water sign, right? So our emotions often drive our appetites, whatever they are, and our addictions. Our appetites towards a big new car, an appetite towards, fabulous shoes, an appetite towards anything that could be very expensive, that's going to sort of make our ego feel better or make our insides feel better if we overindulge in chocolate pudding or chocolate cake. If you are inclined to do these things, then I really suggest you stop and think and look. And Jupiter and Venus together in Cancer can also be incredibly insightful. And the two of them being insightful can give us some real deep understanding of our feelings and our emotions and why we might want a second helping of chocolate cake. And why we need that big car. And so I really recommend and suggest that you are deeply aware of how you're feeling emotionally and what could bring you satisfaction, because under that kind of an aspect, we're going to be looking for satisfaction, and get to the root of whatever it is that you actually need. Maybe you just need a hug. Maybe you just need someone to listen to you. Maybe you need to feel some sort of validation, and maybe you need to feel connection. And Jupiter and Venus in Cancer definitely wants connection. So we connect with family. We want the benefits of family. We want our family to support us and love us and be present with us, right? And so we have to acknowledge whatever we're feeling during this time. So this isn't all, whoopee, let's go, spend some money and I'm sure I'm going to have a windfall. And yeah, you can play the lottery. Sure, go ahead. But it's better to stay very aware. Jupiter brings awareness. It's an expansion. It opens up our eyes and our minds. And if you can open your heart during this time, well, that's a real achievement and a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I really do believe that Venus and Jupiter, especially in the sign of Cancer, want us to open our hearts. And security and insecurity and the feelings of being loved or not loved, those can also be Cancerian issues. They can be a lot of other issues too, but they can be very Cancerian. And the feeling of security and the desire for security and safety are going to be paramount during something like this, especially when so much heated energy is in the sign of Cancer. So if you don't feel secure or safe, you've got to get to the root of why that is. What is it? Is it childhood? Is it something from back when? Is it something more recent? Is it just a financial matter? Or is it, it's rarely ever money is the bottom line. It's really about a deep connection with, what makes you feel, rooted and safe and very much alive and aligned, right? So it is something that we want to be aware of in these days ahead. And it is very important to be connected to our feelings, our emotions right now, and to raise the awareness that we have in our lives and about these things. Maybe there's something about your family. Maybe you have an expectation of your family that is not necessarily good or appropriate. Maybe you have an expectation that it's going to be something that they just cannot deliver. And Jupiter inflates things. Remember, it expands, but it inflates things. And if there's already inflammation going on in your life, then this could also create something inflammatory. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm just saying be aware. You have to use your awareness and your intuition during this time. And intuition's a great thing, and it could be really high under a Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Cancer. So do something special for yourself as well. That means go get a massage, take yourself out to lunch, go for a beautiful walk somewhere, go for a beautiful drive somewhere. Do something that's going to open your heart, lift your spirits. Be in nature. Be in nature. Nature will really be very soothing, and it will feel abundant to you. Now, a word about abundance. Abundance, yes, this is an abundant aspect. Jupiter is the planet of abundance, but it could be an abundance of anything. Like I said, it can inflame things, inflate things. So, but we want to keep this very positive, and we want to open the doors to other kinds of abundance. You could have an abundance of spiritual connection. You could have an abundance of self-awareness. You could have an abundance of friendships. You could have an abundance of time. And Jupiter being expansion we can expand our awareness of what abundance really is in our lives. And that should never stop evolving. Abundance of opportunities, an abundance of connections to community, an abundance of falling in love with life. And just love in general, and gratitude. An abundance of gratitude is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So expand your awareness of abundance as we experience this beautiful Jupiter-Venus conjunction, and connect with it and feel into it and feel how it is for you. Now, don't say, oh, I had a terrible thing happen that day, and I thought this was supposed to be the best day of the year. And people are saying online, I noticed the best day of the year. This is the best day of the year. It is a great day. It is a great day of the year. But the experience of abundance may be hidden someplace. If you have a lousy day, you don't sleep enough the night before, something, you're just having a fight with your boss or something, let the experience of abundance lead you someplace else. It doesn't mean that the whole day is going to be perfect. We've got also that same day, late that night, Mercury squares Saturn, and Mercury is in Cancer and Saturn's in Aries, as we remember. And that's about 11:39, 11:40 my time, so it's the wee hours in Eastern Standard Time of Wednesday morning. But it's still kind of hanging over the evening. And Mercury, Saturn is like, oh, something needs to be said, it isn't being said, or somebody's telling me to keep quiet, or I can't keep quiet any longer, I must discuss this, or there's communication and it's a little nerve-wracking, or, it's still Mercury square Saturn. So right now is Venus Jupiter. I mean, just because they're not exact yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Right now, if there are ideas coming to you for projects, if there are expansive notions coming into your life, focus on gratitude and feeling good in your life. Focus on joy, an abundance of joy. That could be something that you foster and nurture over these next days. So expand your awareness on what this means. It doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily hit the lottery, though you might. And you might hit the lottery and win $5. So be aware and appreciate and have gratitude for the moments that we get to have these splendid astrological occurrences, because they don't happen all the time. Okay? Okay, so some of the other things going on this week is that once Venus finishes up her story with Jupiter, she's going to, she'll still be conjunct on the other side of it. I mean, on Wednesday afternoon, they're still conjunct. She's just not exact, and it's a separating aspect. She's leaving Jupiter behind, and she's moving into the sign of Leo on Saturday the 13th. And Venus will enter Leo at 6:47 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. So we've got a lot of Venus activity happening. And, she's feisty and glamorous and colorful when she's in Leo. She's different. She is, I think it's great because she'll open her heart. We can open our hearts with Venus Jupiter. And then she goes into Leo and really goes into Leo with an open heart. And in the between moments of conjuncting Jupiter and then squaring Chiron in Aries, because Chiron's at the end of Aries and Venus will pass through that square, late Friday, early Saturday, she's going to really, maybe as she's opening her heart, feel some of the discomforts that she has had happen in life. Maybe the wound will surface. Maybe opening the heart is healing the wound, right? And then she goes into Leo, where she must keep her heart open. She must, because Leo is all about the heart. And so opening the door to, the heart and whatever is on the other side of it. You can open your heart, and my heart is open. I love it. I'm open to whatever's coming my way. And that may be that, oops, we have a Venus Chiron square, and she's a little tense around that because when she opened her heart, she bumped into one of her old wounds. But that doesn't mean she should close her heart. It means she keeps it open because now she's going into Leo, where it's all about the heart. And it's asking us to remain open to wonderful surprises as we explore Venus in Leo. In a few weeks time, Jupiter will then follow her into Leo. And that's a wonderful thing as well, and spend a year there. And Jupiter likes being in Leo because it's fiery. So this is good. This is good Jupiter. This last year with Jupiter in Cancer, nice time with going into Leo. These are 2 good years of Jupiter. So very positive and very life affirming. And I think that Jupiter is also about believing. It is about wisdom. It rules Sag, and it's also about belief. And yes, Sag and Pisces, where Jupiter rules, modern and traditional, Jupiter does deal with belief there. And, we also think of Neptune as a belief-oriented planet, obviously. But I think Jupiter can help us expand our beliefs. And Venus, Jupiter, we can believe in something. Maybe we find the way to believe in something or someone again. And I think that's very positive, even in the face of Mercury square Saturn, where someone may say to you, I don't believe what you're telling me, or your beliefs, I don't believe the way you do. Now, that reminds me of something that I heard earlier today. I was watching an interview with Dr. Hamal Patel, who is the lead scientific researcher on Dr. Joe's projects and his scientific research into meditation. He's in the movie Source It's Within You, and he has a pretty big part. And he's very grounded. You can see he's very grounded, and this is a whole new world for him. And he mentioned something, and this is about belief. He said that there's a study that shows the world's top scientists, when questions about whether they have a religious background or a belief of something greater than ourselves, he said that 90% of the world's top scientists don't believe in anything. And he said for him to do science without having that background of belief and faith in something, and he really mentioned faith, he said it doesn't feel right. He says he doesn't know how that could possibly be, and he's felt that there was something wrong there, not having faith or belief in something greater and trying to do science. I found that very, very interesting, and I feel like he's so correct about that. But then I thought about it and said, this is why the world is the way it is. It's like we're putting all this science, and the top scientists are putting science before any sort of faith in something greater. So that didn't feel right to me the way it didn't feel right to him. So I just found that really fascinating. And while we're on the topic of faith, I wanted to bring that up because Jupiter is about faith as well as abundance of opportunities. So yeah, very interesting piece of information, very interesting interview. The other thing that's happening at the end of the week is that we've got a new moon at 24 degrees Gemini. And that is happening on Sunday the 14th, and that is at 10:54 p.m. Eastern Time. And so 24 Gemini, or 24 mutable, relates to 9 degrees fixed. So if you have something at 24 mutable, that would be Gemini or Virgo or Pisces or Sagittarius. You're probably going to feel this a whole lot. And if you have something at 9 degrees fixed, then you are going to also feel this. Like me, I have something at 9 degrees fixed. And you can feel this a whole lot because of the trigger from the new moon. And it's a new moon, and it's in Gemini. So it's new, fresh energy, new thoughts, new ideas, new projects, new things to look forward to. And the moon will enter Gemini at 9:06 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday morning. And then it's going to sextile Venus in Leo, which will have entered Leo a couple hours earlier. And then it's going to conjunct Uranus at 1:31 p.m. Eastern Time. So yes, the moon is going to step into Gemini, conjunct Uranus, and be all jazzed from Uranus as it's getting to be jazzed to meet the sun in the new moon configuration on Sunday. So lots of energy here, lots of energy. Keep grounded. It's Gemini energy. It means that there's lots of air happening in the sky, and there is lots of words flying around, ideas flying around, high-strung energy. So because the moon is really hitting quite a bit on Saturday afternoon as it gets into the whole aspect stuff, it's going to hit all the outer planets. So like I said, it's going to conjunct Uranus at 1:30. It's going to sextile Neptune at 3:51, and then it's going to trine Pluto at 5:18. So there's lots of transformative energy happening in the afternoon on Saturday as the moon touches all of them. Then the moon will sextile Saturn at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it's going to go through all the outer planets, then touch Saturn, then conjunct the sun at 10:54 p.m., but we can't see new moons anyway because they are dark. So, and all of that dark of the moon energy, it's always better to start something after the new moon occurs. So it's better to wait until Monday than really Sunday, but because you don't want to be in the dark of the moon. And I think it's interesting because while the moon is in Gemini in the dark of the moon, it's lining up all those outer planets. Now, this is something that I have mentioned before, because once we get to Saturday, we're getting closer and closer to that alignment that we're going to have where all the outer planets are lining up at 4 degrees. And they're going to be sextile and trine one another at 4 degrees. So you can see already that things are naturally starting to go in that direction. The only thing is Jupiter's not in Leo yet, and Saturn won't be part of this because Saturn's too far into Aries. So it's, Pluto and Neptune are already very close because Pluto's at 5, Neptune's at 4, and Uranus is at 2 and almost 3. So it's going to be they're already having the conversation. And so when the moon comes in and touches all of that on Saturday, it's really starting to prepare us for this 5-pointed star that we're going to have at the end of July that I spoke about a few weeks ago, and that I'll continue to talk about, and I think other astrologers are going to continue to talk about as well. And they're not in position yet, but like I just said, they're moving into position. So they're getting really very close to one another. They are already making trines and sextiles to each other within appropriate degrees. They're not widely apart. So they're in their respective places, the 3 outer planets. But then once Jupiter gets into Leo at the end of the month, and then that starts to line up with them, we're going to see some really interesting energies flying and opportunities coming, because these are opportunity aspects. Sextiles and trines are about opening the door to something. It's the squares and the oppositions and the conjunctions that get us up to do the work and get us motivated, and they push us towards something. If we don't have them, then we don't do enough, right? And then there's these sextiles and trines that say, hey, doors are open. You can walk through them with the motivation that you're carrying from, like, the opposition from Jupiter to Pluto, for example. That's a little more motivating in this. So it's very interesting how this dynamic is playing out. And then Venus, now that she's going into Leo at the end of the week, next week we're going to start seeing how she's going to talk to these outer planets that are lining up in these sextiles and trines. And since she's in Leo, obviously she's going to oppose planets in Aquarius, which include Pluto. So I'm already looking ahead at middle of the following week, where she's going to be talking to the moon and Pluto at the same time. And moon, Venus, Pluto is all going to happen together. So that's some creative fodder for all of us, and a discussion for next week's podcast when I see you on Sunday the 14th. So this is we're getting into some interesting stuff. This is also the last full week that Chiron is going to be in Aries, because next week, not this coming week, but the week after, Chiron is actually going to leave Aries and go into the sign of Taurus. So that'll be another object, not a planet, in the fixed signs. Now, I think this is really interesting also, because then it's going to start to move in a different direction, as far as where we seek out healing for wounds, etc., etc. And I think that'll be actually very interesting. I don't think Chiron is staying in Taurus. I think Chiron's going to tiptoe into Taurus and turn around and go back out again into Aries and then finish. But this is the last week for the moment before Chiron starts a new journey. And so, as you know, Aries is about the individual and the self and the identity. And then Taurus is about what we have and what we own and what we, possess. And so that could be our skills, our abilities, what we own as far as material goods, because Taurus is a very material, earthbound sign. And so our feelings around Chiron in Taurus are going to be very interesting, around money and finance and our values, what we value, and how we've been wounded in those areas of our lives. Wowee, how many of us have money wounds? How about that? And the last time Chiron was in Taurus, Chiron returns are 50 years apart. So Chiron hasn't been in Taurus in 50 years. And so what's that, 1976 or so? So this is a very interesting dynamic that we're going to be experiencing with Chiron in Taurus. And we're going to start getting a flavor of that next week. And so I think that this is something to be looked at as we move forward in this year. That as Chiron goes into Taurus, we're going to start questioning our values, and I think that's always a good thing to do, But we haven't. Many of us on this earth. I mean, I experienced Chiron in Taurus. I was a kid. So what was with values? You have some values as a kid. You don't have any money when you're a kid. And so none that's your own anyway. And so what will this bring up for us? It's going to be very, very interesting as we move forward into June. So June is a very interesting month as we get into this Venus-Jupiter, as Chiron goes into Taurus, as Venus enters Leo and starts to touch the outer planets in a different way, and then, of course, at the end of the month when Jupiter goes into Leo. So June is interesting. It's moving, it's shaking, it's doing things. It's not the same. And so, it's not months and months of the same stuff. Jupiter is moving on, and that's a whole other. It's not coming back to Cancer for 13 years. So we're looking towards something new coming. So yeah. And that too, of course, if you are a fixed sign, you're going to feel this the most. And the fixed signs are Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. And Jupiter will really be in more of a hard aspect to those signs, so you should be aware of that. In the meantime, also, there's going to be other fixed sign action that happens at the end of July when the nodes change signs from Pisces and Virgo into Aquarius and Leo. So this is a lot of fixed energy that we have on the horizon. And by the way, the other day, remember I was talking about the moon was going into Aquarius, it was going to conjunct Pluto. That was like Thursday and Friday, and then eventually the moon would square Mars. And I said this was going to be similar to the week before when there was like that trigger of the Mars-Pluto by the moon. Yeah, I definitely felt that. I definitely felt this these last couple days. Thursday the 4th, Friday the 5th. I definitely felt the pinch and the squeeze of the moon in Aquarius in those days, hitting Pluto first and then moving into the square with Mars. Before last week, it was the moon in Scorpio, and it was in that big triangle T square with Pluto and Mars, but this time the moon actually was in conjunction and then a square. So it was not the big T square, but it was something definitely palpable that was going on that was uncomfortable. How did you feel? I thought it was a something. I thought it was a something. So yeah, and as we move through these fixed signs getting triggered, it's fixed signs don't always want to bend. That's why they're fixed. They're not the mutable signs. They hold on. So they challenge us to be able to open and let go and release. And that's why when they come around like this and we've got challenges in the fixed signs like we're having and we will be having, we've got some things to be remembering that we need to let go of if that is the case sometimes. So it's a little sticky. It's a little sticky when we start dealing with like Mars in a fixed sign and and Pluto. And so when the moon triggers these things, we get in the sticky wicket of the fixed signs. So for sure. Yes. And I mean, I've been doing this a long, long time. Decades and decades and decades of watching these transformations and watching these cycles and feeling them. And that's why I can prepare you for this on a regular basis, because if I didn't have 4 decades of experience of watching transformations and cycles and experiences from myself and other people, I wouldn't be able to sit here on this podcast and alert you to things that might feel uncomfortable. And, energetically speaking, this has been, I think, a little complicated time. And even though we are in Venus, Jupiter, we have to look to that as some sort of relief of these other energies that can be a little straining and a little provoking. And so if you say, well, nothing happened on Venus, Jupiter for me, think of the benefits that it's sort of protecting you in the background, because Jupiter is the big protector, right? Think of it as protecting you in the background while these other things ping pong all over your astrological chart. So these things are important to notice, right? So if you are interested in looking deeply at your astrological chart, certainly get in touch with me and we can do a session. And you can do that by going to thegoldenastrologer.com and going to book online and connecting with me by scheduling an astrology session. You can schedule a Reiki session with me there as well. I do a lot of really wonderful healing and soothing and expansive things in the Reiki. I clear energy, I clear emotions, I break contracts. We do all sorts of good stuff with Reiki. And clear up your energy field and clean out whatever needs to be cleaned out. So that's a good thing. Treat yourself to a Reiki session during Venus, Jupiter, right? I'm here on this podcast every Sunday, and I'm on Instagram at The Golden Astrologer if you'd like to watch me there too. And you always have my support in astrology, Reiki, and certainly expansion mentoring in your transformation during these processes. And that's one of the things I do best, is really guide people through transformation, because I know the cycles so well and I know the feelings so well, and I am prepared to guide you through this, to the other side of what lies after the transformation. So if you are interested in any of those, just go to my website and we can set up a session together. Thank you so much for listening. A beautiful week ahead to you. Enjoy that Venus Jupiter. I'll be on Instagram talking about those things. I give you much gratitude, sending much gratitude and blessings your way during this lovely time. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful week.